Some stories exist to enlighten the mind, some to temporarily inspire hope or passion. But there is one set of writings meant to chill you to the bone, or make you question what is actually possible. These stories are called Creepypasta. Back in my junior year of high school, my friend Tim and I had to do a project for our chemistry class. It was to create the ideal drink by mixing sodas and other ingredients. Tim was in charge of getting the supplies while I had to write the essay portion. We didn't want to just copy everyone else, so we spent some time discussing possible combinations. We sat at lunch away from everyone so our ideas wouldn't be overheard. Coke and root beer? Tim suggested. Nah, some people are already doing that, I replied. I was thinking along the lines of something fruity. Bananas? I think we're on the right track. I'm feeling something tropical. I wrote down a list of things I wanted him to get and handed it over. After school, I went home and got started on the written portion. All I had to do was explain our reasoning behind the ingredients we chose. Seeing as how I don't have to artificially stretch my wording to 3 paragraphs here, I can just summarize it. The flavors that went into our soda other than bananas were as follows: dragon fruit mango, pineapple, and pomegranate. Tim was to get the juice of each of these things. Then we were to combine them with some cherry Dr. Pepper. I don't know if cherries are tropical, but I figured some extra flavor couldn't hurt. I met Tim at his house so we could assemble our drink. After some trial and error, we were able to combine the perfect amount of each ingredient. Our drink consisted of 80% cherry Dr. Pepper along with 4% each banana, dragon fruit, mango, pineapple, and pomegranate juice. We also made it with regular Dr. Pepper for personal use. The following Monday, we presented it. How it would be graded was to be by taste. We poured our drinks into some Dixie cups, then waited for our teacher, Mr. Thompson, to sample our drinks and determine which one was best. The ones he didn't like wouldn't get a passing grade. Unfortunately for our class, he was picky. All right, everyone, calm down. Once I finish grading, you may exchange drinks, he told the class. He was going from left to right. Due to the fact that Tim and I sat at the last table, Mr. Thompson graded us last. He was strict when it came to grading. If there was anything wrong with your work, he'd let you know. We watched him pick up the first drink and its accompanying essay. Coke, Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, and Code Red. Right off the bat, that seems a little redundant, but let's see how it tastes. Upon the drinks passing Mr. Taylor's lips, his face scrunched in disapproval. I can tell you didn't put much effort into this, he told our classmates he was grading. And your written portion looks as if the same amount of thought was put into it. He wrote down the grade on the essay and held it up for the class to see. The number 20 had been written on it. He placed it back down in front of our 2 now sulking classmates. For the sake of all your grades, I hope your drinks taste better, Mr. Taylor said to our class. He didn't pull any punches with the rest of the class. While some drinks met his satisfaction, most he deemed unworthy. Comparisons to fecal matter, urine, and vomit came up a few times. Needless to say, Tim and I were nervous, but we had tried our drink and it seemed pretty good. All we could do was hope that Mr. Taylor felt the same way. Well, last but not least, hopefully, what drink do you guys have? He asked me and Tim as he picked up our essay. Tropical Dr. Pepper. I admit, I am intrigued. He downed our drink. A look of surprised amazement came over his face. He grabbed the bottle and chugged the rest of the drink before slamming it back down. I can say with full confidence that Sam and Tim's drink is the best, not of just this class, but all of my classes. Mr. Thompson then wrote a giant A+ on the essay I wrote. We felt proud of the fact that our soda was the best one. That was until Mr. Thompson started acting strange. He began profusely sweating and tugged on his collar while asking if the room was hot or if it was just him. Mr. Thompson, are you okay? Someone asked.
I must shed my cloth skin,
he shouted as he proceeded to strip off all of his clothes. We freaked out and ran into the hall. When all of us were out, Mr. Thompson had managed to remove everything but his boxers. We called for help, and our principal, Mr. Wilford, came to us along with several teachers. He asked what the issue was, and we explained it to him. Just to be clear, you said he was in his boxers when you all left the room? Principal Wilford asked us. Yeah, I replied. What should we do? Well, first of all, I'm going to see if reasoning with him is going to work. Principal Wilford took a deep breath and entered the classroom. He left the door ajar, enabling us to hear the conversation. Oh my God, is he completely naked? Mr. Wilford said loudly. We heard Mr. Thompson make noises that sounded like roaring and screeching put together. What the hell is the matter with you, Carl? Get off your desk right now and put your goddamn clothes back on, Principal Wilford told him.
You can no longer command me. I have risen above the mortal realm,
he replied. If you don't listen, I'll be forced to call the police.
Go ahead. They won't be able to stop me. I can feel it. My body is about to change from this mere human form.
Mr. Thompson made another roaring screech. This one was much longer than his previous one. What in God's name is happening? Principal Wilford screamed. We didn't want to risk seeing Mr. Thompson naked, but we had to know what Principal Wilford was seeing. We peered into the room to find Mr. Thompson had started transforming. Luckily, it had started from the bottom up, which spared us from having to see his genitals. Scales had started appearing on his body. He was completely covered in them from his waist down. We also saw that some horns and a tail had grown on his body. His eyes had become more snake-like in appearance. His cries by then were loud enough to shake the school. Despite this, Principal Wilford still thought he could reason with him. Carl, I'm not sure what's the matter with you, but if you calm down, we can get you help.
I told you that you cannot command me any longer,
Mr. Thompson yelled in response. He then leaped off his desk at Mr. Wilford. He lifted him by the neck with one hand as if he weighed less than that of a small puppy. Principal Wilford could only let out a few choked gasps before Mr. Thompson flung him across the room. He slammed against the wall and left a streak of blood on it as he slid down. From the sound Principal Wilford's head made upon impact, we knew he was dead. That was our cue to get the fuck out. We ran downstairs. Along the way, I pulled a fire alarm. We could hear that Mr. Thompson was not far behind us. We looked back to see him pounce on 2 students. By then, his scales had spread up to his chest. Talons had grown from his fingers. With one swipe, he used them to decapitate 2 students. While this was indeed a horrifying sight to behold, it did buy us some time so that we could escape. This wasn't easy, though. Panic makes people stupid. They were calm at first since we had had occasional fire drills. However, seeing Mr. Thompson chomp into a student with his now sharpened teeth made them take shit more seriously. We had to fight our way through herds of students and teachers. They were tripping over each other in their attempts to escape. Me and Tim were able to make it out. Some teachers and students did as well. However, it seemed that most of them had fallen victim to Mr. Thompson. He came out of the doors by knocking them away. They narrowly missed Tim and I, but hit some people ahead of us. How the fuck did this happen? I whispered. We had found cover under a truck in the parking lot. I don't know, I'm barely processing what I've just seen. Do you think Mr. Thompson has some kind of disease? If he does, it's not one I've ever heard of. He's starting to remind me of a dragon? Yeah. Hopefully wings don't grow out of his back. Tim was joking. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out to be a laughing matter. We heard Mr. Thompson again. From underneath the vehicle, we had clear view of him. You've got to be fucking kidding me, I said. Mr. Thompson was in midair and was now fully covered in scales. Giant leathery wings protruded from his back. On top of that, he was breathing fire on those attempting to run. The smell of charred flesh and bone was strong. Although the urge to puke was strong, we knew that Mr. Thompson would be able to hear us if we did. "It seems like Mr. Thompson really has become a dragon," Tim said in a shaking voice. "I see that," I replied in a similar tone. "The question is how. Actually, now that I think about it, Mr. Thompson didn't start transforming until after having our drink. It's probably coincidence, though. I mean, we drank it and nothing happened. It was after I said that when I realized something. I looked at Tim. "What?" he asked. "The drink we had for personal use was made with regular Dr. Pepper. The one we brought in for the class was cherry Dr. Pepper. It was at your house before we took it to school today. Did you do anything to it? How could you accuse me of doing such a thing?" Tim clearly took offense to what I had said, but I wasn't buying it. "Answer the question." I stared directly into his eyes. After a couple of moments, he caved. "Okay, fine. Do you remember how I told you I had to visit my grandparents in Ohio for spring break?" "Yeah." "Late one night I was hungry, but there wasn't anything in the fridge, so I decided to head out. Everything was closed though, except a Chinese shop just outside of the neighborhood." "And what did you get from it?" "A pack of gum, a chocolate muffin, and a Sprite." "Is that all?" "Well, there was one more thing. I saw this blue powdery stuff in a cool looking bottle. I asked the owner about it and he said that it was called West Dragon Powder, and it was guaranteed to make any drink or food taste amazing. I'm starting to have the feeling that it's what's responsible for changing Mr. Thompson. I take it the shop owner didn't warn you about this." "Oh no, he did. In fact, he emphasized it several times." "Then why the fuck did you add it to the drink? I thought he was just saying it for show. I didn't think he was being serious." "Well, because of it, half the people in our school are now piles of ash." "Yeah, it's not like I'm happy about that, alright? I just wish the police would get here and take care of Mr. Thompson so we could all put this behind us." We could hear police sirens in the distance after he said that. Several cars showed up in the parking lot. From the cops' expression, we knew they also were having trouble believing what they were seeing. However, that didn't prevent them from attempting to stop Mr. Thompson. They shot at him, which did some damage, but wasn't nearly enough to put him down.
"You dare fire upon a majestic being such as myself?"
Mr. Thompson yelled in a rage-filled tone.
"For your actions you shall be punished."
He shot a stream of fire at the officers. Some were able to evade it, others not so lucky. They died screaming in a fiery inferno. The ones that avoided this fate didn't last much longer. Mr. Thompson was able to catch 2 of them with ease. He flew them in the air for all to see, then in one motion he smashed their heads together. Despite them being so high up, the sound of the cops' skulls crunching together was still audible. Mr. Thompson dropped their lifeless bodies and they landed directly in front of us. "Oh God, I don't think I can keep it down any longer," Tim said. He covered his mouth and started gagging. "Just calm down," I told him, although I felt the same way he did. "Your car isn't far away, right? Mr. Thompson is occupied. We can use it to escape." "Yeah, about that. I kinda left my keys in the classroom." "Tim, you're my friend and I like you, so I'm doing everything I can to keep myself from punching your face." "God damn, I didn't mean to leave them." "You know that isn't the only reason." "Okay, I'm sorry. It shouldn't take us long to get him. Mr. Thompson is busy. Let's go back inside before he comes back over here." "All right. Wait for him to face away from us," I instructed. "Now, go, go, go!" We got out from underneath the truck and ran back inside. Along the way, I saw that Mr. Thompson had pulled another cop from his car and held the poor man above his head. He begged for his life, only for it to fall on deaf ears. His torso was torn from his waist by Mr. Thompson's incredible strength. His upper half was then dropped to the ground and his legs became a meal. We did our best to ignore the noise caused by Mr. Thompson biting into the flesh and bone. The inside of the school didn't make us feel much better, though. Mangled corpses that used to be students and teachers covered the floor. Their blood and some of their burnt chunks covered most of the walls. That made Tim reach his limit. "Hang on a sec," Tim said in a low voice. "What is it?" Tim replied by doubling over and vomiting on the floor. He was a little shaky after he finished, so he leaned against part of the wall that was still clean. "Damn it, you got some of that on my shoes," I said. "Ugh, how can you not have the same reaction?" "Because I'm attempting not to. Do you think I should?" Tim sighed. "No," he replied. "Good. Now do you feel better after losing your lunch?" "Yeah." "Then let's get a move on." We headed back upstairs to Mr. Thompson's classroom. As Tim grabbed his keys, I peered out of the window. Down below, I could see that Mr. Thompson had caught someone who had almost been able to get in their car. He opened his mouth and bit off their head. "Hey, Tim." "Yeah?" I called him over. We saw him eating the person's remains. Some people were fortunate enough to reach their cars and drive away. This meant that Mr. Thompson and ourselves were the last ones left on school property. He paused and started picking meat from between his teeth with his nails. "Maybe he'll leave since he doesn't see anyone left," Tim said. Wait a second. What is he doing? Mr. Thompson appeared to be sniffing the air. To our terror, he went back inside the school. Why is he doing that? I know he didn't see us go back in. My voice was heavy with panic. Our question was answered by Mr. Thompson. His booming voice reached us in the classroom.
I see a hint of some placed remains. If you thought hiding from me would succeed, you were sorely mistaken.
We heard him say. What does he mean by hint? Tim whispered. He must be talking about your vomit. Of all the shit to get us killed. I'm sorry. Maybe we can find a way out before he finds us. Oh yeah, sure. We can do that within the minute it will take for him to find us. Wait. Do you see that? It's the window in the classroom across from us. I checked to see what Tim was referring to. It turned out the window he was talking about had been shattered. We didn't waste any time going to it and climbing down from there. Lucky the car rider awning was right below Mr. Thompson's room for us to land on. We lowered ourselves to the pavement from it. My car's up ahead, come on, Tim said. The sounds of Mr. Thompson moving furniture around, presumably to look for us, could be heard coming from the school. Several desks were thrown out of windows in his attempt to find us. We reached Tim's car. Once inside, he cranked it, then drove us out of the parking lot, to which Mr. Thompson yelled in rage when he realized this. Thank fucking Christ we made it away from there, Tim said. Actually, we have to go back later. Say what now? We need to go back soon. Wow, now I'm the one that really wants to punch you. Before I do that though, may I ask why the fuck we should do that? Some cops will probably come by the school later. If they manage to subdue him, and he talks shit, could even get messier for us. They won't be able to. Their bullets had no effect on him. I hate telling you this, but they do. Sure, they didn't do much. However, enough of them did minor damage to him, even though it was only like a prick to him. If enough firepower is used, subduing him is entirely possible. Well, they might end up killing him then, right? Do you really want to gamble on that? Tim groaned. Okay, fine. We have to deal with Mr. Thompson, but how in the hell are we going to do that? I've been thinking about the weakness I've heard of dragons having in mythology. Nothing specific comes to mind though. It seems to vary wildly. However, something that is consistent, at least when it comes to the European variety, is their love of treasure. It's something that we may be able to use. How exactly? It's not like either of us have any gold laying around. I don't think it has to be. It just needs to be something he finds extremely valuable, like the soda. I don't have any more of that powder though. It doesn't need to be the exact same drink. We only need him to assume we have more of it. The plan was simple. The first step was making some more dragon soda to use as bait. The next step involved some jumper cables and several car batteries. Once we had several bottles of the drink, we headed back to the school. Unfortunately, several more patrol cars were at the school when me and Tim got back. Shit, we're too late. Can you park us somewhere close in a place that's hidden? We parked a little into the woods. I grabbed the bottles of soda while Tim grabbed the jumper cables and some pocket knives from his glove compartment. We made our way across the street towards the school. There, we decided to wait and see how things were going with the officers that had shown up. We could only view from the front of the school from our position. See anything? Tim asked me. It's hard to make out from here. I think I see movement through a window though, I replied, pointing at said window. From where the two of us stood, we could view some cops attempting to flee. Mr. Thompson caught up to one of them with ease and shoved his talons into his back. Then he pulled a Sub-Zero style fatality by ripping out his spine. Well, this is going as smoothly as expected, Tim said. I doubt the other cops will last much longer. Come on, we need to hurry and set things up. We got to work making our trap for Mr. Thompson. Once it was done, I waited for him to come out. Tim got his car and put it into position. Mr. Thompson came out of a window. He then drew in a deep breath and engulfed the school in flames before taking notice of me and the soda I had.
Sam, have you come to give me an offering? In exchange for it, I will spare your life.
Yeah, I figured if I didn't, you'd come after me for more of the soda.
A wise decision. After I drink it, all you have to do is show me how to make it. And then you'll never hear from me again.
Sure thing, I said, holding up the drink to him. He began to walk over to me. I was curious as to why he wasn't flying. When he got closer, I could notice some damage had been done to his wings. Several other minor wounds had also been inflicted upon him. The way he gazed at the bottle in my hands creeped me the hell out.
Yes, I have more of the precious elixir,
he said, taking it from me. He cracked it open and he got ready to drink it. Before he could though, Tim sped towards him in his car. Knowing this would happen, I leaped out of the way. Mr. Thompson, not having expected this, was knocked down and dragged towards the patrol car. In particular, the one in which one of the cops I'd mentioned earlier tried using to escape.
How dare you think you can slay me?
Mr. Thompson roared.
Did you really think such a primitive trap could stop me?
I started running towards the patrol car which the cables were hooked to. Much to my surprise, Mr. Thompson seemed to be lifting Tim's car. He yelled at me to hurry the fuck up. I grabbed one of the ends of the cables. They were attached to Tim's pocket knives. I went over to Mr. Thompson with him. He was too occupied with Tim's car to properly deal with me. He did try breathing some fire at me, however, it wasn't as strong as his previous ones. I assume this is because he didn't want the chance of lighting some cars on fire and making them explode. I was able to narrowly evade his flames, after which I leapt at him and plunged the knives deep into his wounds. After that, I acted quickly and got in the patrol car. Luckily for us, the keys were still in the ignition and I cranked it up. Once it was on, the car's battery started electrocuting Mr. Thompson.
You'll never get the better of me with your mortal items,
he roared. It's not enough, I yelled. Tim leapt from his car as he grabbed a couple of taser guns off the ground. He then shot them at Mr. Thompson at their highest setting. The result was him convulsing and foam coming from his mouth. He let out a few choked gargles as his body shut down. Before he did, he gave us his final words.
I wish I had more soda,
he told us before falling still. Oh my God. It's finally over, Tim said and breathed a sigh of relief. Hey, I just realized something. What is it? Our fingerprints are on this patrol car, and yours are on that taser now. I see. You know what we have to do, right? Yep. Mr. Thompson had changed back to a regular human, much like what supposedly happens when a werewolf is killed. We grabbed his corpse and tossed it in the patrol car's trunk. Once we did that, we drove it to the lake by the school and pushed it in with the taser guns that Tim used inside. Then we returned to the school grounds and got back inside Tim's car. After that, he drove us away before anyone else showed up. If anyone asks, we were never here, I said as we were leaving the parking lot. You don't have to tell me twice. The school appeared on our local news. It was deemed a massive fire thanks to Mr. Thompson's flames spreading before they could put him out. It ended up reaching some gasoline from a leaking car and catching it on fire as well. This caused it to explode, which started a chain reaction with the other cars, resulting in the obliteration of everything in the parking lot. Tim and I told our parents that we had played hooky. I'm guessing they let it slide because of the whole fire burning the entire school property to the ground thing. That was some fucked up shit I saw that day. But the soda was good though. You should try it. Just don't add any dragon powder if you also got any from the same shop Tim did. He did tell me it smelled kind of like coconut, so that might work instead. I hope you like the soda if you do try it. Adios. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Definitely hit the bell notification if you plan on keeping up with me and the crazy content I put on this channel. Special thanks to Rose Black. I love this story. It was simply amazing. If you want to read this story and other stories by Rose Black, then please go to the description. All links in the description. Also, please follow me on Twitter. I think I'm pretty funny. You'll be entertained, okay? Links in the description. And please go ahead and watch whatever video is on the screen right now. I'm sure there's one. Unless you're on mobile. I don't know. I don't know how it works.